Now, in Alkebulan, believe it or not, we actually pay more attention to the past. Right? So, when you think of infinity, in the European sense, you're thinking about infinity out into the future, like Buzz Lightyear, to infinity and beyond. You're moving forward into infinity, right? But then think about that 2000 season story that I told you when the Europeans came to the Alkebulan people and said, "How long have you been here?" And remember what I look up into the sky, find the brightest star, count the 7 stars closest to it, then count all the rest of the stars in the sky. When you finish, come back.
That's impossible.
And exactly. But this is to show how, because we spoke in Proverbs. And then when you're finished with that, come see me at the beach. Count all the sand on the beach. And then when you're finished with that, walk out into the water, right? Count how many raindrops it takes to make up the ocean. And then that would represent a fraction of the time of your answer for how long we've been here. Because in the Alkebulan point of view, the past is infinite. How about that? You see, this is why we have to learn worldviews.
The past is infinite.
Meaning that even when we say
there was no beginning of time.
Even when we say there was a beginning, we're speaking about a very specific beginning that deals with the veneration of a very specific ancestor or deity.
So you're saying there's no beginning of time?
In the Alkebulan perspective, as compared to the European perspective, you see, the Europeans say that time will move infinitely in the forward direction.
Yeah, and they gave it a specific time in European Christianity, in which it was sometime 2,000 years from BC.
So they start their European understanding of somewhere around 6,000 BC, I believe. Or maybe, is it? No, maybe 4,000 BC. Because according
I think it was
to
6,000.
6 or 4. I mean, we're splitting here, even though it seems
Right.
like 2,000 years. Because remember, we're going into an infinite direction, into the future. That's the European way of thinking. So now that they've plotted out this infinite direction into the future, they can literally start affecting their future by force. They're trying to control time in that sense. In Alkebulan, our stories go back as those grains of sand.
So they don't understand that we can.
One thing I want to impress upon all of you, particularly you, but one thing I want to impress upon all of you, there are different ways of thinking. You're trying to find the truth, right? You keep asking, so there's no heaven, so there's no this, so there's no beginning of time, because it's shaking everything you know and everything that people have taught you for the 9 years of your life, 8 years of your life. Okay, right? So you're trying to find out the truth. Don't do that. Don't do that.
What do you mean? Don't try to find
What do I mean? Don't try to find out the truth. What I'm telling you is a better way for you to approach it. Instead of trying to say which one of these things is the truth. You see, right next to you, young ladies in this room, they're not Christian. They practice Islam. Other people in here practice other things. We practice Christianity. If we're in this room saying which one of these is the truth, and then you have to pit your truth against her truth, is she now your sister or is she your enemy?
Enemy, because we're fighting.
Enemy because you're fighting, exactly. So now, what I want you to do is, don't think about it as which one of these things is the truth. Think about it. I'm going to give you a way to think about it. Okay? Think about it like this. What effect does this particular truth have on me and my people?
So I let people lie to me? Is that what you're saying?
You see, again, you're in this binary system.
Right.
This is the binary system.
It's not the, dear, it's not the truth. It is her truth and your truth and his truth and my truth and her truth and their truth.
There can't be so many truths.
Why not?
There absolutely can. And I get to choose.
Hold on.
Because there's no... So it's like saying there's more than one God when there's actually one God, and you believe that there's one God, and another person believes that there's more than one God, but there's actually one God.
Okay, what if I speak another language and I've never learned your language, And in your language, you call God God. Right? In my language, I call God Oludumare. You don't know my language. I don't know your language. But you call God one thing, I call God one thing. Does that mean I have a different God and you have a different God? Or does that mean we call it different things because we have a different language?
Call it different things. But it's not
So-
really different truths though. Because it's the same thing, just a different language. It's not really a different truth.
Right, but what if I practice it a different way? What if I say Oludumare and then I don't go to church?
That's not, it's okay. It's not like, wait.
What if I
But
tell
I'm
you, let me put it to you in this way. This idea of truth in the way that you're using, because remember, there's many ways to use many things. This idea of truth was created so that it could be owned. Just like this idea of time that we just spoke about. So in the same, huh?
I don't get it. How can it
Okay,
be owned?
but
You can't own
okay,
the
so I
truth.
just explained to you how time,
You can own
the
knowledge.
concept of European time was created in the European's mind to move out into the future, right? Now that they defined it and packaged it, so if we want to be rich next year, we need 1,000 people to dig this mine for 9 years in order to be rich 25 years from now.
Isn't that called estimating?
Again, estimation or estimating the things that you need in the future is an invention created around owning the future, which is the Europeans are doing a really good job at owning this reality of the future because we've all bought into it.
What you're trying to explain to me is that it's something created to be owned. You can't really own the truth. You can own knowledge of the truth.
And that's what we're trying to share with you.
But
The
Marcel, you
Europeans
say you
created-
can't own the truth, right? Is it true that there's only one God?
Yes.
You just owned that truth. Because what if I say there's not? If I say there's not, what are you going to tell me? That I'm wrong, right? You just owned the truth. You just took the truth and grabbed it for yourself and said, no, this is the truth. Well, why isn't what I think just as much the truth? You just owned it.
Oh, because you have a different way of thinking.
Absolutely.
And that's what this
So
is
why-
all about.
And why can't you just allow me to have a different way of thinking and let that be okay?
Because
Because you
your
need
type
to
of
know-
thinking is how you have. Your way of thinking is how your mindset is programmed.
But you can't just. It's like saying I'm gonna let this person lie to me all my life. But you can't have the. It's like saying the European in my mindset is the truth my whole life. It's like saying that.
But that person's
isn't the
not-
truth the Alkebulan mindset?